with the 542. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the meeting to order with a roll call.
Mac Rankin.
Here.
Ben Metzger.
Here.
Eric Christensen.
Here.
Bob Keller.
Here.
Tim Mills is absent tonight. Ryan Worley.
Here.
Sue Wilson.
Here. Perfect, thank you. Good news is on the website.
Yep.
We're going to skip down to G1, letter B, accepting military leave from board member Tim Mills. And in our work session, the recommendation to appoint Donna Kramer to fill his vacancy from now until he returns in approximately November was presented. If there would be a motion on the floor for that.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion made by Ben. Seconded by Sue. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Donna's in the hallway. If somebody wants to flag her to come in, we can swear her in real quick. Yeah, we should.
Quiz time.
Hey, Lee.
Hi, Donna.
That Penning's turned
The oath of office of board secretary thing or board president?
Thank you. Donna, did you think you were going to come back?
I know.
I'm going to swear you in. You want to stand up and raise your hand and do all that fun stuff?
I will.
Do you solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa? And will you faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge all the duties of the office of board member in the Indianola Community School District, again, as now and hereafter required by law?
I will.
Thank you very much. Welcome back.
Thanks.
Good job.
Oh, yeah, I know. Wasn't that good? Yeah.
All right, board member reports. Okay, moving on. There's no presentations tonight, so delegations, petitions, speakers.
Speakers. First we have listed Courtney Lowry. Regarding elementary dean students.
If you'll state your name and your address, and we're going to limit you to 5 minutes.
I'm Courtney Lowry. My address is 1506 North C Street in Indianola. Hello, my name is Courtney Lowry. I just finished my 8th year of teaching, the last 4 being part of the Indianola School District teaching 1st grade at Laura Ingalls Wilder. As a representative of our building leadership team, I wanted to thank you all for your championing of teachers, dedicating your time and efforts back to teachers, and your willingness to listen to our needs. We, as a building leadership team, wrote a letter and shared our need for a dean of students in May. Since 2020, we've added a 4th section of a grade each year, starting with kindergarten, and we've made it all the way up to 3rd grade this past school year. We are currently the largest elementary building in the district and have a level 2-3 behavior program. We have supports, strategies, and plans in place. However, with growth, it's natural that we would continue to need to add to the supports to continue to accommodate all our students in our building. This year, our level 2-3 behavior program roster was above the recommended capacity. We also served 13 students with our Tier 2 behavior intervention system, as well as 54 other students that had 3 or more office referrals throughout the year which needed immediate support. As a classroom teacher specifically, there are days where we have had to address our own major student behaviors because large building issues that are occurring where Mrs. Naughton is needed to give her full attention to. As we all know, early intervention is key, and many days this can hinder our ability to proactively address situations. The teaching team at Wilder sacrifices planning and lunch breaks in order to provide and offer immediate support, interventions, follow-ups with students, which take away from academic planning and preparedness. We believe a dean of students would address our needs. Once again, thank you for your time and consideration. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
Next we have Alicia Kazmarek.
You did good.
Said it as fast as I could, so I couldn't mess it up.
Thank you.
We usually don't let you down.
What?
We usually do that.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Hi, I'm Alicia Kazmarek. I am the K-5 elementary art teacher out at Wilder, and I just finished my 12th year of teaching, 4 of which have been in the district. I'm also part of our Laura Ingalls Wilder building leadership team. And mine is more of a personal note before we get into our building needs. But the 4 years that I have been a part of this district and Wilder have changed my outlook on teaching. I am passionate about teaching and I'm excited to create art with students each day because of our current administrative and behavioral supports within our building. Additionally, the closeness of our staff and willingness to support each other in any capacity makes Wilder an amazing place to work. Prior to coming to Indianola, in my previous teaching experiences, teachers were not supported or responded to when major behavior issues arose. It was an environment that fostered fear and defeat, whereas at Wilder, I feel completely supported, heard, and we all continually strive to have our students succeed academically, behaviorally, socially, emotionally, while caring for each other. Currently, our biggest concern is not being able to sustain this positive climate and culture and the continued increase in student enrollment as well as major behaviors so that we all feel supported in being able to fill our roles as teachers and administrators. I've shared with you a packet that features our office referral and Chapter 103 incidence data. And as Courtney mentioned, we are the largest elementary building in student enrollment in the district and also house our elementary level 3 behavior program. Currently, our building administrator responds to and addresses all major office referrals, bus referrals, Chapter 103 incidents, Go Guardian alerts, and facilitates communication with families and staff post-incident, in addition to her regular administrative tasks and roles. She also fulfills staff coverage due to absences, especially the special education teachers and associates. Like it was mentioned before, we have support and strategies in place, and we want to be proactive in requesting a dean of students, or whatever we want to officially call it, so that individuals in our building can continue to respond to behaviors and provide early intervention in addition to their daily teaching roles, so that individual student and staff needs can be met, whether that's academically, socially, emotionally, or behaviorally. Thank you for your consideration.
Jill Cervantes.
Gotta get my reading glasses now.
Hi, I'm Jill Cervantes. I live at 400 South 8th Court, Unit 67, just across the field in case you're wondering. I am currently the instructional coach at Laura Ingalls Wilder Elementary. I have been at Laura Ingalls Wilder since day one. 16 years we've been there. I remember the first day I was there, I didn't even have carpet on the floor, but guess what? We started and it was wonderful. Prior to this position that I am in now, I was a kindergarten teacher at Laura Ingalls Wilder for 13 years. And the building and this whole district hold a very special place in my heart. The teachers at Laura Ingalls Wilder are committed to achieving high standards in academic education. They take pride in following the district's curriculum with fidelity and faithfully. They are exceptional, among the finest educators you will encounter. When presented with a challenging assignment, they eagerly dive in without any hesitation. They back each other up unconditionally and strive to promote student achievements across all domains. Our administrator, Mrs. Naughton, is dedicated to academic excellence as well. She organizes monthly math planning meetings for each grade level, establishes data day procedures, leads a collaborative team that designs weekly lessons on social, emotional, and behavioral well-being, and oversees the self-assessment of MTSS implementation for ongoing school enhancement. She also values the district's performance review system to offer guidance and feedback to teachers through formal observations starting in early September to address challenges promptly. However, due to the significant number of student behavior issues, Mrs. Naughton is sometimes unable to fully engage in data meetings, observations, PLC sessions, and academic discussions. While we were on the ESSA targeted list for special education in 2019, our efforts at Laura Ingalls Wilder led to significant improvements and we were released from this list in 2023. We aim to maintain our progress and uphold academic standards as we move forward. Introducing a dean of students, or as Alicia said, whatever you may call it, to manage most student behavior matters would enable Mrs. Naughton to focus more on guiding instructional practices within the school. We appreciate your attention to these concerns. A special thanks goes to all the central office administrators for supporting and advocating for additional support of administrative help in our elementary buildings across the district by bringing the recommendation here to the board. Lastly, I would like to, and we would like to extend our gratitude to the board for the unwavering support and encouragement of our teachers here in Indianola. Your commitment to listening to our needs and aiding in addressing our requests is truly valued. Thank you for your dedication, your assistance, and your time.
Thanks, Jill.
Next is Jim Fromm from OC 23.
Got some stuff to hand out. You just leave them there, we'll pass them. Okay, thank you. Thanks. I'm Jim Fromm. Whoops, wait a minute. I brought this. I was in high school band when I was in high school here. And I'll get this in order. In that band, I was a bass drummer. This is school property, but it broke. I was the drummer that broke that. So anyway, that's just that's one of my displays that's on. If you pass that around, we'll follow along with that. If you could pass those around.
We usually pass them on at the end.
Okay. Jim Fromm is my name. Address is 12603 S23 Highway, just over the hill. Moved here in 1968, graduated high school 73. We've had 2 kids here in town. Both of them also graduated in high school or from high school here. Now we have grandkids, 3 grandkids that live here in town, and 1 great-grandbaby that was just born a year and a little bit ago. When I first moved here, we moved from Eastern Iowa, moved from Minnesota, Wisconsin. I was born in Wisconsin. I'm familiar with Indians, and when I was plunged into Indianola, I thought it was just a little strange that these were the Indians here. That was their mascot, what are we going to call it. And I always thought it was just a little bit strange, but let me grab one of those just so I completely lose the track. But being what it was, we kind of went along with it and accepted it, and it was a team, and it was okay. I was in sports. Our kids were in drama, not much sports. In fact, our daughter was on track and decided other people wanted to win more, so she backed out. But anyway, in the stuff that was happening when I was in high school 50 years ago, most of these things happened, and this was some of your homework. I'd like for you to consider after the meeting. Take a look on YouTube for all these things. The song Cherokee Nation is probably one that you're familiar with. It was actually written by a guy named John Loudermilk. And there's another YouTube video about the background of that song. The song Buffalo by Mason Prophet. We named our son Mason after that group, so it has some significance to us. I'd like you to just take a listen to those things. And then the movie Little Big Man, I think, gave me a peek at Indian culture that you don't see in Westerns. Typically in Westerns, the culture that you see of the Indians is one to be defeated, and in one where the European settlers were the ones that won that conflict, and the Indian was a secondary thing and not talked about much. My position is, I guess, that it's always been a little bit almost an embarrassment to me to be represented or to be representing the Indians when we're about as white a community as you can get. We don't have a Native American population in this town. Sorry, I'm nervous as hell. So I guess I don't know where we get the claim to fame, and I'd like you to substitute any other racial identity that you can think of and say whatever race with, let you guys make your own substitutions and that kind of stuff. It wouldn't fly, I guarantee you. So I guess I don't know still a good reason that we should continue this. And I'd like to see it at least considered. I'd like to see it, is there a committee? I don't know if you guys, I know this comes up on a fairly regular basis through the school board meetings, but I guess I'd like to see if there was any discussion on this or any action currently in front of the board to suggest a different mascot or representative, hopefully not race. I think race should be taken out of it. So, thank you. If you have any questions, I've got my name and emails on this sheet, and like I said, I'd really like you to take a listen to those things. Thank you.
Jim.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Perfect. Next. I believe tonight is Superintendent N's last meeting. Is that right?
That's correct.
You're not coming back next month?
No.
Good. The board would like to present you with a plaque, just thanking you for your service and dedication to the Indianola Community School District for the last 2 years.
Appreciate that.
Do you guys want to go back to the dean and students conversation, or do you want to just go through the regular order? Have a preference?
If it's gonna be on there, but,
What's?
I didn't know if
what's
we
the
needed to
action?
continue the conversation, if there was more things to talk through, or if we wanted to just table the item.
Given the interest of the folks in attendance, I'd say maybe continue with that discussion.
Yeah. Okay. So let's skip down to the G3B, consideration of the elementary dean position, and we can continue our conversation from the work session.
okay, let's press rewind here and try to recap. Once again, I think I can speak for everybody that we really do support teachers. And I think we all recognize that there's an issue and there needs to be a solution to it. What that solution is or who that person is, I just think there needs to be a little more information. Like, I appreciate this data, but like Sue mentioned, like, I'm really interested in like what the root cause of all of this is, because if we're just dealing with the end result of the behavior, we're just
Symptom.
yeah, it's a symptom, and we're just basically taking buckets full of water and dumping them off when we really should be figuring out where we can turn the water off. And so I think we can all agree that there needs to be a position, there needs to be a person to help you. I just don't know what that looks like right now, and I'd like more information as far as number one, what exactly this person needs to be doing, what their needs are. And number two, I guess I'm just interested in these referrals. And I get it that we have, there's different makeups in the buildings. I get that, but I'm just wondering if, I still wonder about the consistency. And even with a consistent process, I get it, there will be discrepancies, but I don't think there's a consistent process among the 4 buildings. Tell me if I'm wrong. Because just talking to 2 of the administrators there, you guys gave vastly different answers in the work session as to how you enter behaviors, which tells me there's probably 4 processes. So I would really like to see a position or 2. I don't know what it's called. I don't know what that person, I'll let Sue speak on the some of the root cause things, but I would personally like, and I think the rest of the board would appreciate, more data on how the consistency of how these referrals are made, And then, I guess I just looking at it, like answers, like why are these jumps here? Why did we have 40 referrals one month and that chopped in half? I mean, those numbers are great, but without context, it's hard to solve the problem, right? So those are some of the things I personally would just like some more answers for as we work towards this. I do think there needs to be a position. I just don't want to rush into something just because.
I think I'll jump in on that. I think we can go around this for 3 hours tonight. I mean, I think everybody's gonna have their own opinion of what it looks like and what that person should be. I think more than anything else, it should probably be a tabled subject. And I think I would, I don't wanna pass the buck on the Superintendent Paul, but I think she should be a part of that conversation as well. But I would suggest that as a board, to support, if there's something that's going to happen, that you set a definite timeline by July 10th, or July 15th, we're gonna decide if we're gonna move forward with this for next school year or not, because any time past that, you might get applicants, but maybe not the individuals that necessarily you want for that position. So I think if it's a position that you're gonna look for the 24-25 school year, you set a timeline on it, and I think the board can gather all the questions, send them to Chad and Shelley. Then we can find out from our building administrators what those answers are. They can reach out to their staff, and then we can get all those answered. And then they can come back to finance and HR, and then we'll do a better job of making sure that the rest of the board gets those notes sooner than later, so that that conversation can happen and be more productive. Then I guess that's my thought, but what do I know? I'm leaving.
But I'd also like to hear from all 4 buildings too. If this is a district-wide positions, we're hearing from, we've got data from one bill. I just would like to see the whole picture. And I realize it's gonna look different. I get that. I've lived here long enough. I get that. But I just would like to see it all.
And perhaps from the financial side, a breakdown. What does 2 elementary deans and a school resource officer look like? What does 1 school resource officer, a dean and a social worker? What is, you know what I mean? Like 2 social workers. I don't know, I feel like we need to see the big picture. Back to Rob's point. Like, what are our priorities? What are our needs, and how do we address them at the central department?
I think
Right,
there's
so
other departments that need support as well, so I mean, again, we have to prioritize what is needed with a fixed amount of money. So if there's other departments if there's other things that we need in this district in the next couple of years, I would hope that we could see all of that, and we can then figure out and prioritize which things, like we've done in the past, which ones were the most immediate, what's coming down the road, and what can we push off for a while.
Do we make a motion to table and then have a work session, or what?
There's no
We just
motion on the floor, so we can just
Just-
not act.
What, you just brought this up briefly, Sue, but I do think with the time sensitivity there, like just having subcommittee meetings and bringing this back to the next meeting is probably not gonna work very well. It feels like there needs to be a work session in there
I would agree.
to dig in ahead of time.
And to make sure we have the right people at that table.
The other thing that I keep going back to internally, just my struggle is, we have consistently, as long as I've been on the board, always told each other that we need to listen to our staff. They are the experts. And so I am a little bit torn on not taking action on their request. I don't think that this is unreasonable. I understand that we might want to make some tweaks to it, but I also don't think that either making a decision tonight or setting the expectation that we're going to have something taken care of within the first 7 to 10 days of July is, even with the holiday in there, is out of line. If Superintendent Paul is going to be here in town at some point yet this month, and she's able to willing to meet with us early, this is a need that we have, that we really need to find a solution.
But we need to do it correctly.
I agree, but I am fearful that if we wait until July,
We can propose a work date on the calendar at the end of the meeting.
if you guys are okay with putting in a little overtime this month and trying to find a solution to this, I think that's the best course of action.
Said it.
We will table this, and we will pick a date at the end of the meeting. Back to the beginning of the packet for the consent agenda. Is there any items in there that anyone had questions on or would like to pull out for further discussion? If not, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion made by Ben.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Second.
Seconded by Rob. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Is it too late to ask a question? I just want, what's the process of open enrollment, like when we approve it or disapprove that? What's the process in the district? Who reviews all, is it you guys? Okay, I just didn't know. So they come
I
in
do.
and do they write like saying why they want to be here versus
They
their?
don't have to.
They don't have to. They just have to get the approval of,
Yep, their district and the incoming district, and if it's a special needs student, we always make sure we check with Ms. Baker to make sure that we have programming available for them. Next year, we'll go back to the March 1st deadline, so it will change again, so anything after March 1st, a district, unless it's bullying or something like that, you absolutely can deny, but up to this point, you can't deny until June 30th, 2024, unless you don't have spacing or programs in your school district.
wow. Okay. Well, thank you.
Action items. Military Health Services year-end report from the Heartland AEA.
Sure, I'm assuming everybody had an opportunity to review it real quick. Not much different than last year. We are down, as far as the number of students that we served last year, this year we're down 28 from the previous year. But if you look at the district staff feedback and provider feedback, I mean, we're all very good and excellent as far as how they feel things are being done. You know, there's always hiccups and bumps across the way as far as spacing and, you know, one of the pieces that we always struggle with is making sure that we can get enough providers. We've been very fortunate that we've been able to do that with choices in House of Mercy and Bailey Saul. There might be a change for next year, depending upon one of our providers has indicated that they would like to do a pretty substantial increase. So I've reached out to Stacy Warren, who is our contact with Heartland AEA, and she's working with one of our other providers to see if they can get one or two more people, and then we'd only have two people covering our whole district, or two, I guess, organizations covering our whole district. So that would work out really well because the individual, I mean, they're all quality people. But, you know, obviously the board has made a commitment to this, and you know, we try to do it as fiscally responsible as we possibly can, and if we can get the same services for, I would even say, under half the cost that what another organization wants to charge us, we'd absolutely do that. So, you know, I think the whole process, Choices, House of Mercy, and Bailey Saul, they've been pleased with the way it works. I think our building administrators and our staff have been pleased on how it works. But keep going forward. The ESSER dollars are done. Everything's going to be coming out of the general fund now for this, so we want to make sure that we're fiscally responsible when we do this.
Somebody had made the comment, Ted, about like some turnover still from one of the organizations. Is that still a big problem?
We've been pretty consistent with the individuals that have come through the individual organizations. We've been lucky at that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, next item. Under the teaching and learning, it is consideration for high school math curriculum.
Yeah, we talked about this in curriculum. I don't have it pulled up, can I? So it's what the high school teachers would like, so I'll make a motion to approve the mathematics curriculum for Indianola High School as presented.
Motion made by Sue, seconded by Rob. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
And then there's a motion on the table to approve the 2024-2025 district instructional leadership. So that was broken out in the packet with the different staff that are willing to step up and do some leadership, so.
Motion made by Sue, seconded by Ryan. I did have a question, maybe Amy Jo, you can answer. There was several openings on here. Is this just an at-will teachers can sign up to be a part of this, or do they have to be invited, or how do they?
It's an application.
So they have to be a PLT lead, they have to have so many years in the district experience. And so sometimes in our buildings, if both, like, every teacher on that grade level team only has 2 years of experience, and they end up without a PLT lead.
Gotcha, okay.
But there is an application process, I
There's
believe.
an application
Yeah,
process.
There's an application process for
And
it.
same way with the collaboration?
The CNI, yep.
Okay. Any other discussion? And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. The HR committee report.
Go down there and my computer died on, or my tablet died on.
Been a while.
Talked about adding the popularity of the girls wrestling program, and with that growth, adding position to meet the needs at the middle school level. So that was discussed. We'll keep going down. It's been so long, I forget what we.
Just a dean.
Just talked about hiring update, what positions are open, and then we talked about basically the behavioral issues at the elementary and what that could look like.
Shelley, how much of, a lot of those were pending from that report, right? The HR positions? Because we approved several today, right?
There will only be one that we're waiting for licensure.
Okay, so we're almost fully staffed.
You guys are just going through we obviously, right there in the notes, talked about several different, what this would look like, social worker, someone with mental health degree, behavioral interventionist, behavioral strategist. I think both Sue and I agree that someone needs to be there, don't know what it looks like. I guess also in the notes, we had talked about reaching out to the 4 building principals. What was the feedback from the 3? I guess Derek took off. What was the feedback from the other 3 on their need for that position?
I only talked with Mrs. Mendoza, and she was very comfortable and, hearing for a dean. Now, I don't know that she necessarily knows what a, behavioral strategist could bring her as opposed to that, but that's something she was familiar with and someone that she would be looking forward to have at Whittier. I don't know if you talked to some of the others or not.
We asked for feedback. We also had an admin meeting where all of the administrators were here as well. And at the high school, Mr. Lumen was talking about the number of referrals that he's had this year as dean at the high school, and how we believe that at the elementary level that could help a lot in preventing it from reaching to them. This has been a very challenging year for him, he said, this year as well. So, provided feedback to people that we heard from. Obviously, we're bringing to you, we're recommending to you guys what we hear from everybody else. I'm not just making it up.
In this administrators meeting, in general, they were comfortable with the idea of the dean and thought that would be helpful and kind of fit the bill.
So Chad talked to Mrs. Paul about it.
Yeah, she was enthusiastically in favor of it. Again, I don't know what model she's used to having at Escher Lincoln Central, but it sounds like it does involve a dean of students for her up there with that model as well.
And we talked about it at a full admin meeting, so everybody's aware of it in the district from the administrative team. All the building principals were there. We talked about it the last one that we had, and we talked a little bit about what the need was for it. And so it wasn't necessarily kept under wrap.
I guess one more thought that I had just thinking about this right now would be knowing that we need to move forward with something. I like the idea of leaving that dean position posted just to see what type of applicants we may get. If everyone else is on board with that versus closing it and having the apps that have already came in potentially go away.
I think that's a good idea.
you have to acknowledge the specialty of social workers, period. And how they deal with this every single day, and how they have 4 years of education in this realm. You are asking for behaviors. You are asking for conversations to engage with parents and families and find resources to solve the symptom. And to completely ignore people that are specialized and went to school for this. It's like I told Dr. Whirling when I was.
Social worker?
Huh?
We have a social worker in the district that ever comes.
Like it would be like if I was on the sidelines and I needed somebody to help me with dislocations and they send me a respiratory therapist. Right? Like I think we're so narrow in our qualifications that you're missing a whole lot of people that love kids and love working with families and love and know how to navigate difficulties and behaviors.
I'm not discounting that at all. I'm simply saying, do we think that it makes sense to keep the posting up until we have a full understanding of what we're doing? And if we need to post something different, we can? Or do we just take this down and start over once we get something approved?
The position closed yesterday.
How many total apps did you have?
15.
What's our pay?
80,000.
We will take that to the work session. The Technology Committee report.
You want me to go? So continued progress on the Security Operations Center there. We got the student account automation fully completed, staff automation about 75%. And then the door security, right? I think, like Ray, if I remember right, we were able to leverage some of those funds for some of the existing high school.
Yeah, those doors that will be remaining after the.
So we were able to complete some of those, even though there will be construction going on in different places there. And then still waiting on a few pieces to fall into place for the connectivity in the District Operations Center, but making good progress and moving in soon. Have you already moved in?
We have not moved in yet. We're not
Close.
yet, but it looks really close.
Any questions for IT? Monthly finance reports.
Yeah, you found in your packet the financial reports for April 2024. We'll note on the cash flow comparison graph, kind of due to timing issue as far as property taxes and getting those posted. You don't see that necessarily being shot up like you have in previous years for the April, but you'll see that essentially come back in May.
Still coming.
Still coming in, yeah, exactly, still to be recorded, exactly. Other than that, just available for questions.
Finance committee report. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking Ryan was not at the finance committee report, or meeting.
So,
Sorry about that.
you want to hit it, Chad?
No, go ahead. I was just saying, no, that's true. Ryan was not at the finance committee report. Or not,
So-
finance committee.
Some of the topics discussed, we talked about the 2 potential elementary dean positions. about an SRO, or behavioral strategist. Kind of what was best to, what might work to satisfy those. Chad kind of talked about some of the financing there. We may be able to tap some of the ESSER funds. And I think the ask that came up in the meeting from the administrators was that two deans for the 4 buildings would be, a good way to go. And I think there was discussion about some of the other schools and, maybe Norwalk and how these 2 additional positions would be focused on elementary schools. Some discussion about our cash balances a little bit and if we needed to consider investing things a little bit differently. And I think, Chad, there was maybe some strategies there where we could goose the returns a little bit. Talked about our annual bank choice coming up in November.
That's about it.
Yeah, I think we were wondering about cash flow from a division, but that wasn't in hand yet, so
Yep.
didn't get into that.
Just got that last week.
You say those 2 proposed dean positions would be through ESSER funds?
I think you were researching kind of what
I
the
thought
funding
those were
possibilities
gone.
would be.
Yeah, the ESSER funds are done, but at risk, perhaps title funds, and then, to whatever portion SPED can play a role.
Yes, I don't know, if concern is not the right word, caution, keeping a close eye on it. I know we added several positions with one-time funding ESSER funds.
And that's all done.
Funding's done, but the positions are not.
The positions are done unless they were absorbed by other retirements or things like that.
No, we hired some other positions through those funding.
We put it,
No, all the ESSER funds, the ESSER funds the positions either went away or they were absorbed through retirements or whatever the other case might be, so.
So
We're
like
good
an
on all
example was we had an extra interventionist at one of the buildings.
Yep.
And then that person that
Bring
moved
back.
to a classroom position.
Yep.
So she wasn't she didn't have to resign.
Yep.
But
the
we're
position
losing the
wasn't there.
service that we hired the position for.
Right.
Yep.
I guess was curious, just long-term, obviously, our state money is not growing substantially and our enrollment is not, and just making sure.
Any other questions for finance? Facilities committee report.
We met last week over at the new district operations center, and Ben and I got to tour the completed project, and looks really nice. We first discussed the high school project. Of course, the parking lot's been demolished now, and so you can see that. And so we're starting out on that project, moving forward. And yeah, we got to see the district operations center. I think it's something that our district can be proud of. The people who will be in there, the different employees that will be in there should be proud to be in a building like that. Looks really nice. And thank Ted and Jonna and Bernie for all their extra work outside their normal duties over the last 2 years of having to stay on top of that project and making sure everything what was promised was delivered, and I think it has been, and thank you guys for doing that. I know it was a lot of extra beyond what you would normally have to do.
Hopefully there'll be an open house once we get certificate of occupancy so people can see it, kind of like we did for this building. People can tour it and see what it's all about. Hopefully in the next couple weeks. We'll get certificate of occupancy. When the open house will be, I don't know.
Any questions?
Yes. I would like to make sure we have a full board discussion on our game plan for parking for the high school students next year if it's going to be disrupted. Because I've already had 3 people approach me to say there's no way my kid is going to park over here and we're going to have drones of people trying to cross the street on 92 when lovely middle school parents are taking a right while trying to get their kids dropped off. So I don't know, but I had 3 students come up to me and say, oh, we've already been told we have to park at the district building. And then we all have to walk over this and that. And I was like, I haven't heard any concrete answer.
There isn't a concrete answer yet, and the goal is hopefully that people wouldn't be walking across, that we would shuttle students across.
Yeah, so I just hope we have a board discussion before this comes out, so we make sure we roll it out and our communication is really good. And we bring in all the moving parts, because loading kids in a shuttle and all that too, you know, are we making sure we're doing it in timeframes that we're not really starting school at 8:20 over there, because it's taking longer than we think to get out of this parking lot with a shuttle full of kids, because all the middle school parents are coming this way. So I just hope that it doesn't fall in just a committee discussion, that the whole board at some point can have a discussion as the progress continues and we see what that looks like.
Any other questions? Policy committee report.
I'll start.
You got her?
You can clean up.
All right.
Well, remember, whenever you see the red remarks or red changes, that came via the state. That's not anything we. Let's run through my quick notes. 704.1. Write down any changes that we made. I started taking those late, so we'll try to catch on this in a second. 704.6 didn't have any changes. 704.601, we removed the portion, the quote will not be asked to go door to door in regards to fundraising, because we do. So, or at least we do that, we don't ask them specifically every time, but it's done currently, so we haven't had it. 706.1, no changes there to the payroll fee. 706.2, just a spelling correction. And then adding or designating, which we often do. 706.3, the title changed. I think again that came down though from, we didn't make that change, that came to us.
IESB, right?
Yeah. 706.301, again, the title change, and board secretary was changed to SBO. 707.1, a new title, but it kind of consolidates a couple of other, maybe consolidated 707.2 and 707.3 into the 707.1. That's what the new title. And then those other ones you'll see that in the track. And the last one is 707.4. But the quote certified in the state of Iowa. Added for the auditors. And then for designee was also added to one. And there was one more.
We filed with the Secretary of State, or filed with the Secretary,
Yeah.
the State of
State of Auditor.
Yep.
Well done, Ryan.
That was Amanda, thank you.
Reeling down.
Good work.
So there is a first reading. Let me go back to it here.
Make a motion to approve the listed first reading policies.
Motion made by Ben for the first reading.
Second.
Seconded by Eric. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
I'll make that second motion for the second reading of the policy updates.
Motion made by Ben.
I'll make a second motion.
Seconded by Eric. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Get back through all of these. I think we're at the end of the calendar. I sent Superintendent Paul a message hoping that I'd get a date back from her, but I have not gotten a response yet. Do you guys want to go ahead and tentatively schedule a work session? We'll see if it works for her to either be here or be virtual. And if not, we can change it. You want to
Those 2
do
weeks are
an
good.
evening? You want to do a Saturday morning?
Like a morning on top of 1Bs or, mornings or evenings are fine. If possible, I'd like to stay away from the 4th of July week. I could go before,
I think this has the potential to
go a
be a
little.
little bit of time, I think, after or Sunday morning.
I think we want at least the 3 building principals that are going to be here to be here.
I would suggest maybe that, because Shelley has access to their vacation days, that send out some, so that everybody can be, otherwise, you're gonna be throwing out dates and you're gonna say, well, that doesn't work because Amy Jo is gone, or that doesn't work because, this person's gone, and we don't know Brittany coming in, what her schedule is gonna look like as she enters the district as well, so.
Can handle that electronically.
Shelley, you
A
need
doodle
to
poll or something.
figure that out.
We can sign up.
Any changes to the calendar that need to be made?
We don't have anything for HR unless you guys want to meet on the 20th.
I was taking that off.
And there's no curriculum this week.
You should still meet for board policy, just to stay up on it.
I'll be here for the.
So
I think you should, I mean, it's tough.
We don't have July on
On
there yet.
Tuesday.
but-
You don't?
No. Well, July we took off because you were going to be gone.
So did we just set a time?
What?
Did we just set a time for work?
Oh, yeah, you're
We're canceling technology.
Is that what he said?
Jed, finance?
So
We'll probably have some
Donna
stuff to talk
moves
about.
into where Tim's committee was,
She'll be on facility.
so she's
I
moving
did,
into
I did
facilities.
sweet talk Donna and tell her she didn't have to serve on those.
I thought Tim was at 5 and then Donna was going to step into 5 committees.
I'm happy to fill in on the 2 that I'm not already on. If you want to fill in on finance or somebody
I can
else.
do, what are they, facilities and what else?
I would like to go back on facilities.
Facilities.
You want to do facilities? And you want to come back to finance? What was the other one that he was on?
Those 2, I think just 2 this year. He's gonna be gone.
I want to make sure that you get sent it.
One more thing real quick before we adjourn. In an effort to try to do a little bit better in my role, if there are inefficiencies that you guys have identified in your time on the board that you would like to address, we do differently, whether it's a board function or an admin function, I would appreciate it if you would either shoot me a text or an email, call me, let's get coffee. Let's talk through the things that you've seen that you think we could maybe tweak and do a little bit differently. I think now, after I've had a conversation with Mrs. Paul, is a good time to maybe implement some new two-way communications between the board and the admin. And so if there's anything that you guys can think of that you would like to talk through, I would love to take time to chat with all of you about that individually.
At that work session, can they present the transportation, like what they think will be best? Shuttling and all that, so that, because I think Bernie said that whatever's gonna be decided would be communicated often.
Yep, absolutely.
Until school starts, so everybody knows.
So we've talked a little bit about that. Bernie's kind of been the go-to when it talks about where kids potentially could park back and what the drop-off might look like, and Ron's been involved in those conversations, so both Bernie and Ron would be good to have in those conversations.
Are you saying you would like that at that next work
At the work session.
Okay.
I mean, I think, because, Irving's gonna start back in July,
Yep.
and then vacations, people will be on vacations, fair.
Yep. Yeah, communication's gonna be big on that.
Anything else?
I have a question about the dean that you're talking about. I mean, we've talked about this before when I was on the board, so it hasn't been that long since I've heard the discussion. So are you thinking that the dean is gonna only handle discipline and special ed, or is it one, either or, both?
Just behave.
I think right now the target is to take off some of the pressure from the principals with the behaviors so that the principals can more focus on their evaluations.
Instruction.
And their instructional coaching. I'm excited about the position, regardless of what we call it. I think that it is very much needed, and I think it is a way for us to differentiate ourselves from other districts that maybe don't have that similar position. I know with my kids in elementary, they saw a lot of behavioral issues this year that affected instructional time. And if we can alleviate that.
Absolutely, I don't disagree with any of that. I just wasn't sure what the purpose,
What the skill set is needed.
what skill set was it? Disciplinarian, is it a special ed consultant, more type person, you know, I just wasn't sure what
Yeah.
the position was.
One other thing, and probably not on this work session we're talking about, but I would really like to engage in some conversations of really improving our students' mental health by limiting cell phone use during classroom time. I know Rob has spent some time talking to a consultant on, talk us through how we do this, how do we present it, what is the verbiage, really following the footsteps of Hoover High School. They just are going through, and I really think when you work with a teacher, I have a friend that did some research for me, and I just said, I just want you to take one class, one period. She picked her 4th period class, 19 students, and she said, I want you to turn on your notifications. And then she had a whiteboard and just put everything on there, Snapchat, Twitter, I don't even know them all, emails, phone calls, whatever. And there was over 586 tally marks in a 40-minute period for 19 kids. So I had one of our local teachers actually ask, one of his students came up at the middle school and said, I will pay attention the minute you let me go look at my notifications on Snapchat. I just need to know how many people liked my last photo. And our own student, I worked with him in the concession stand on Sunday. And so I would like us as a district to start, if that's other board members, things, maybe start bringing that conversation to the table and moving forward as to really looking at cell phone usage.
You have some English teachers who make them turn them in. They have.
And I think we need to use those teachers, and I think we need to use those teachers and bring them to the table and have them present that it's not as hard.
Beginning, but after a week or two, they're done complaining.
Yeah, yep, and the research that I don't know if any of you guys are readers, but you should read the book Anxious Generation. It's Jonathan Haidt, and he talks basically about when cell phones started in 2010, and then how the mental health declined in 2012 when the photos started, like the self-camera on the phones. And he goes all into the history of how, as a society, like we tried to blame the financial crisis in 2008 for mental health, and we tried to blame COVID for it, and it really just keeps coming back to, we've gone from a play childhood to a virtual childhood. And that lack of play, interaction, problem solving on your own is significantly, right? Like our kids don't have the abilities to think through things because they're not challenged to do that, right? And so I would just say, think about it. The book is fabulous, but it really does open your eyes as to how it's basically called the rewiring of the adolescent brain and the adult brain, for that matter. And so I think that plays a big role into our board goal in mental health as well. I know it probably doesn't fit in this current work session coming up, but probably sooner than later.
Yeah. Before I go, I just want to thank the board for the great 2 years we've had. It's been an outstanding community to work in. Great students, great staff. and I keep saying this over and over, and people don't believe it, you're not gonna find a more supportive community in education than Indianola. I mean, it really does put its money where its mouth is when it comes to making sure that our students have what their needs are to be met. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the opportunity that you gave me to be a part of this great school district, and I wish you nothing but the best of success in the future. I know that Superintendent Paul's gonna do a great job and gonna take you even where you wanted to go, way past that. She's gonna be an outstanding candidate for our district. So congratulations to her, and hope she does a great job, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Indianola fares in the future.
Thanks, Ted. We
Thank
appreciate
you,
your support.
thank you, and good luck to you.
Yeah, I'm headed up to Cass in the night.
See? Going up to the good land. You guys are gonna get hot up there too.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Motion made by Donna, seconded by Ron. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Motion carries 7-0.